to the creation of numerous non-biodegradable plastics. This also comes with its own effects. Styrofoam pack is what we popularly known as takeaway. Takeaway because it is not biodegradable. It has scientists have or it have research has shown that what they use to produce it has this chemical. This is a chemical called polystyrene. So this chemical is cancerous, but not in its solid form, but it is when it is melted. So if the chemical content is melted, then it will release this chemical form that will cause cancer in human being. So that is one of it. Then this has led to global warming, outbreak of diseases, change in season, and acid rain. Can you continue? So this is part of it. Environmental pollution is the introduction of harmful material into the environment according to National Geographic Society. So anything that will cause any harm to human beings and animal, even plants, that is what we call environmental pollution. Then we have different types of environmental pollution. We have air pollution, we have land pollution, we have noise pollution, we also have water pollution. So we are going to be taking it one after the other. Land pollution and its effects, as you can see here, most of us have seen this kind of sites, maybe in this state or in other part of the places we go along or we travel. Because of this, open dumping areas serve as a breeding site for insects and rodents, and these have been implicated in the spread of diseases. In different places, if our refuse as it is seen here is not properly managed, it will come with different health implications, which we are going to see as we progress in the course of this presentation. Then vermin like rats attracted to polluted areas have been implicated in transmission of Ebola virus and Lassa fever. Recently, we have outbreak of Lassa fever in Nigeria. Although we only used to have the occurrence and the reoccurrence of Lassa fever, but this year precisely, in some states like Ebonyi State, we have the outbreak of Lassa fever. And one of the ways we contract Lassa fever is through this rat we call multi-mammoth rat. So this rat is a special breed of rat. So it's breed on this kind of environment. So if we don't dispose our refuse properly, this kind of rat will come, and because of this, we are going to have contract it, and it has a lot of effects on health. And this recent outbreak, we understand that it kills about 15 people in Ebonyi State. So for us to protect ourselves, we need to make sure that we dispose our refuse properly so that this kind of occurrences will not continue to occur. Then this is another also proper refuse disposal. What we call refuse are those solid materials that we dispose, like we have nylon, we have food or used food items, and several other things. So if it is not properly disposed, it will come with its own hazard. You can see flies pesting around this place. So flies have been implicated in cholera transmission and other health issues. So if the thing is not properly disposed, like our refuse is not properly disposed, we can come down with many different health issues like cholera, trypanosomiasis, and etc. Mosquito is not also left out in the spread. It's not also left out in poor proper refuse disposal. Like one of the breeding sites for mosquito is when it's a place that is not properly clean, like if in our, say for instance, in our environment or in our home, if we don't clear our bushes that is surrounding our distance, it will serve as a breeding site for mosquito. If our refuges are not properly disposed, it also serves as a breeding site for mosquito. So, and mosquito, we know, is implicated in the spread of malaria and other diseases. So, what is appropriate or what is advocated is that when you make use of nylon, for instance, you keep them in a proper dustbin, or you put them in a proper area that you use, and then carry it to area where it is properly disposed, so that the environmental agencies that carry those refuges, they will take it and do appropriate disposal, as the one we have in Uyo Village Road. So, under 5, mortality have been attributed to this. One of the species of malaria we call falciparum malaria at high risk of cerebral malaria, thereby leading to seizure, loss of consciousness, and neurological disability or deficits. Then this is one of the effects of environmental pollution. If our refuges are not properly disposed, some of them, I can see some people used to dump their refuse in gutters, and it's not advocated, because when you drop all those things in gutter, it will block the drainage of water, and it will result in this kind of thing. Well, recently, I think last year, we saw this kind of flooding in Niger Delta region, particularly in Delta and other places. So if our refuse and our drainages are not properly kept clean, then we can come down with something like this, and it will have both medical implication and economic implication. So this is because this is as a result of poor refuse disposal. You can see this place is flooded, and people are losing their buildings, their materials, and it also come down with the health effects. So blockage of drainages leads to flooding and its associated destruction. Water bodies are clogged up with plastics and debris. Then waterborne diseases, mercury poison and food poison also occurs. Take for instance, if our plastic that we use, and also the takeaway that I've made mention of, that contain polystyrene that is cancerous, if they are not properly disposed and then they are discharged into our water areas, when they dissolve, they begin to release those chemicals. And those chemicals now, fishes that are in these oceans and these rivers, they take up those chemicals. And when they take it up, you and I will always eat fish and all that. So we take back those chemicals in our bodies. And this will become, there will be a lot of mutation in the cells. And these mutations now will lead to cancer. So that is why we advocate that there should be a proper refuse disposal to make sure that our environment are clean. Because this thing comes in cycles. If you think that you can dispose things or refuses anyhow, in one way or the other, it will come back and affect you, your health, and your family's health. So that is why we advocate for proper refuse disposal. Then noise pollution is another type of environmental pollution that we have. It has led to several auditory and non-auditory effects. When we talk about auditory effects and non-auditory effects, auditory effects simply means that when we have noise pollution, it will affect the way we concentrate in our workplaces. It will affect, sometimes it can even lead to deafness. Take for instance, in our next slide, we are going to be seeing the way noise from different places, noise from masks, noise from different places affects the way we live. So it is important that we keep our environment clean to avoid all these things. Then loss of concentration, anxiety, insomnia, hearing impairment. In severe cases, you can have hearing losses due to damage to the tympanic membrane. So these are some of the adverse effects or medical effects of noise pollution. Just like I said before, these marks that is set here, normally the telecommunication marks are not supposed to be sited in the residential areas. It's supposed to be sited away from the residential area because it comes with a lot of hazards. And one of the hazards that it causes is noise pollution. Just like I mentioned before, the sound that mask produces alone can cause a lot of effects on the body. So that is why we advocate that in the normal circumstances, the masks are not supposed to be situated there. And also, it releases electromagnetic waves. So all these waves are not good to health. They can cause neurological damage, most especially in children. They can cause them, they can have memory impairment and all that. So living in close proximity to radio readers, nuclear power plants and nuclear stations result in increased risk of developing cancers. So we have different cancers. You and I know that in incidents that happened in Hiroshima, as a result of the release of atomic bomb, it leads to a lot of alteration in GNA, mutation in GNA. That has led to a lot of development of cancers and so many other effects. So that's why we advocate that, more especially these marks are not supposed to be sited in our residential areas, supposed to be sited away from our residential area. And also our nuclear power plants are also supposed to be sited close to the residential area, so that all these effects we are mentioning will not be happening to human beings. Then, as part of also air pollution, harmful gases are generated in everyday activities. Burning of fossil fuel in cars, power plants, industrial equipment, domestic activities like burning of refugees, agricultural activities like bush burning have also contributed to air pollution. As you can see in this car, if our cars are not properly maintained and the type of fuel we use is not healthy, it can lead to air pollution. And these things are detrimental to health. So that is why we advocate if your car is faulty, the one thing is to repair so that the breakdown of the fuel, fossil fuel per se, will not be too much, the rate of gas will not be too much, so that it will not affect the way we live in our environment. The effects of air pollution include acid rain, global warming, formation of fogs. So one of the things that happens when there are air pollution is that there's going to be release of acid rain, global warming and formation of fogs. So these are one of the things that happens when there is air pollution. Take for instance, in our industrial areas, because we are trying to make our life better in our industrial areas, if the smokes and other things that are discharged from industrial areas are not properly disposed, it's going to lead to air pollution. And what happens is that there's part of the atmosphere we call stratosphere, and this stratosphere contains ozone layer. So if some of the gases that are released in this process, like methane, like chlorofluorocarbon, this will go a long way to deplete the ozone layer, leading to global warming, acid rain, and so many other effects that are going to see the course of this presentation. Air pollution are implicated in some diseases. Just like you can see asthma, you can see chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, you can see lung cancers, and cardiovascular diseases. These are one among those diseases that comes with air pollution. We know that if there's an incident, if there's an asthma, dust and so many other things will make asthma to be worse. It will trigger asthma. Then, when we talk about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, there are lung diseases that comes as a result of release of some chemicals into our system. When we hear those chemicals, more especially people that work in industrial areas, when they hear those chemicals, it will cause destruction of the lung alveoli, thereby leading to what we call chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, in which chronic bronchitis and emphysema are the components. Then now climate change improper. Long-term climate change is a long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. Since 1800s, human activities have been the main drivers of climate change, primarily due to burning of fossil fuel like coal, oil, and gases. So these are one among those things that causes climate change. Just like I said, it's different from weather that is a temporary thing. Climate change is when the effect comes, it comes as a result of prolonged exposure of our atmosphere. Just like I explained before, that we have what we call ozone layer. Ozone layer is this part of the stratosphere that shields us from the effect of ultraviolet radiation from sun. So if these ozone layers are depleted as a result of the release of these chemicals into the atmosphere, we are going to be having excessive sun that is, so the sun, we are going to be exposed to ultraviolet radiation of sun that will have different effects like cancer of the skin, have different irritation, and so many other things. The burning of fossil fuel generates greenhouse gases. One of the greenhouse gases is methane. We have also chlorofluorocarbon as one of the greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide is also one of them. They act like a blanket wrapped around the earth, thereby trapping sun's heat and raising temperatures. So the main greenhouse gases that are involved, as I mentioned, are carbon dioxide, methane. What are the influences? The influences the health of children. What are the influences that these things that I mentioned now has on the health of our children? Because of the toxic air pollution, diminution of food security. How does it diminish food security? If there is release of this acid rain now, it will destroy our yield, our crops in the farm will not produce much money the way it's supposed to produce. So this will cause food insecurity. Then high risk of infectious disease outbreak. Just like I mentioned before, if our environment are not kept clean, can come down with different infectious diseases, Lassa fever, so many other things, even coronavirus and so many other things can come up as a result of poor environmental pollution. Then extreme heat. You and I know that presently we are experiencing forms of extreme heat. These are as a result of our activities, human activities that have been over years. So these are causing the hazardous health effects, and one of those is extreme heat, drought, flood, and much more. Just like we have seen before, are one of those things that we see if our environment are not kept clean and properly managed. Between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause 2,500 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, diarrhea, heat stress, according to World Health Organization. So this is the projection that World Health Organization is giving us, that if our environment is not properly maintained, if our environment is not kept clean, then we are going to be coming up with this statistic that is on the board. This is the estimation that World Health gave to us. Then exposure to extreme weather events like scorching sun, displacement due to flooding, which we have seen before. Then famine, anxiety, and distress caused by climate change contribute to increased mental issues. So how do we mitigate the effects of climate change? One of the ways to mitigate the effects of climate change is planting trees and flowers, popularly what we know as afforestation. So initially when I started, I made mention of oxygen cycle. I also made mention of water cycle. So if we plant trees in our environment, it will help to maintain this oxygen cycle. Then there will be a reduction in the level of diseases that will come we are exposed to. Then proper refuse and sewage disposal. So normally, if any refuse that is generated at home, like papers, like food that we finish eating, and we are not okay with the leftovers. All of them are supposed to be properly managed. If you have refuse basket or nylon, you gather those things, you gather them, then they're supposed to be designated places. Like where I live along Teaching Hospital, there are some designated places in this city where they dump refuse, and after that the environmental officer will come and pick it up. Then there's a place that, because those things are also useful, you use it to fill some of the places that are very shallow. Some of places that are very shallow, and it's very helpful. And even in a inclined environment, they are also used to generate, these are refuse that are used to generate energies, natural energies that are used for human benefits. So that is the way it's supposed to be done. Then, adoption of 3R principles for waste management: you reduce, you reuse, and then recycle. Cooking with clean energy such as gas and electricity as against firewood and kerosene. Kerosene, because of the smoke that is released and all that, worsens the effect of asthma. And if you consistently make use of firewood to cook, the persistent exposure for many years can lead to what I mentioned before, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Then teaching children how to prevent environmental pollution. We are meant to, as teachers, are meant to teach children to avoid littering their surroundings. These are one of the things we are supposed to be teaching them in our schools. If a child, take for instance, a child after drinking sachet water is not supposed to drop it, the designated baskets that are supposed to be located in strategic places in classroom and different places in school, that these things are going to be collected for proper disposal. The use of visual media to educate children on environmental hygiene. There's a saying that what you see, there's way they say what you see, you believe more of what you see than what you hear. So if we use this visual media to teach our children on how to manage our waste, it will go a long way, because we always remember what there's. So like when you watch film, you always remember it. You are not to, if it's something you hear, something you see, you remember better and apply than something you just hear. Then organization of school projects, focusing on environmental health. For example, projects where students embark on tree planting and environmental sanitation. So can also help. When we engage in this kind of program, it will always be in children's mind, to always help them as they grow up. Then other things that we need to do is inclusion of environmental health in school curriculum. If environmental health is included in school curriculum, it is going to help, because it will be teaching our children on how to mitigate the effect of environmental pollution. In that process, we will continue to learn and continue to help them, so that they'll be able to understand how to do proper refuse and sewage disposal that will help to mitigate the effects of environmental pollution. Then the current age of modernization, in form of conclusion, the current age of modernization and technology have brought with it certain gains. But there's also a disadvantage that are put to it. And one of those disadvantages is climate change, which with ozone layer depletion and greenhouse effects, leading to devastating health consequences or circumstances. Then environmental pollution, just like I mentioned, air, noise, water, can also be attributed to this. Although modern means of waste disposal attempts to eliminate the effects of land pollution for a better future, it is pertinent that we educate the society on climate change, which we are doing here currently, and environmental pollution. Children should not be left out of this process, as environmental health education will equip them to overcome future challenges. Thank you very much for your listening.